Hi everyone! This is going to be my first time filming in 2 weeks. I was out of town and now I'm back. I know I said I'm not buying as much makeup this year, but is it just me or have the releases this year been like kind of smacking? Like, they've been kind of good, right? So anyways, I did get some stuff before I left and it arrived while I was gone. And by the way, if you haven't looked at my Instagram, look at these nails. Excuse me, look at these nails. I treated myself to a Japanese manicure while I was in Honolulu. It's Nail Studio Eye, AI, and I just had such a wonderful, fantastic experience with her. And look at these nails. They were pricey, but you get what you pay for. She did an amazing job. So anyways, I'm just totally like, I'm like being so flamboyant with my fingers these days because I just want everyone in public to see these beautiful nails. So firstly, I'm gonna go in with my under eye primer of choice these days. I don't use the Jaclyn Cosmetics one anymore just because that one seems to go off really quickly, and of course Jaclyn Cosmetics has been super on sale lately and I cannot trust that her brand will be around for much longer, so I went ahead and switched to using this. Pretty much does the exact same thing. It's not quite as good, but it'll do. And then what did finally arrive was my Bergdorf Goodman order. I got this finally. I've literally been looking for the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint for months. So this is completely new. This reminded me of the Korean tone-up creams. That was the first immediate impression I got of this. If you know anything about Korean tone-up creams, they can make you look straight up white and gray really easily, and I'm just not a fan of that. Like, I know my foundation shades almost never fully match me. Like, I'll be honest, I do prefer to match my neck, which is usually lighter than my face, and I prefer, oftentimes because of my olive undertones, I do have a difficult time finding foundation matches, and I would rather go up in shade to match my undertone rather than be at my kind of level of tan or no tan and not have the right undertone, because the wrong undertone on olive skin tone I've noticed just looks absolutely disastrous. So generally speaking, my foundation usually runs lighter, and then instead of using lighter concealer to brighten my face, I use contour to add dimension back. And I feel like honestly at the end of the day that looks the exact same as somebody using their shade of foundation and then putting concealer in the center of their face. I feel like it honestly gives the same effect. It's just two different approaches. So I was really eager to try this out from Chantecaille when it was released, but it sold out super fast and literally never restocked. It doesn't have like a thick moisturizing texture. It kind of almost turns to water on my face, so it does remind me a little bit of the Dominique Cosmetics one, but it's still not as watery as that one is. It still maintains some thickness to it. It kind of has a pink hue. Do you see how it's kind of got a pink hue to it as I turn my face and my face catches the light? But it doesn't feel like it immediately has any obvious tone-up effects. I know they said face tint. As a face tint, this is terrible. I feel like everything, it shows everything. It's so glowy. But under foundation, my face feels so hydrated. I'm excited to see how this works under foundation. I did move my light further back behind me, so my head is more or less covering it up, but sometimes when I move, it shows. But I do think it really helps with my video quality having a light back there, so we'll just let it be for now. I mean, my filming setup is super jank, but whatever. Yeah, I think today I will use the Valentino one because I have a concealer I want to try, and the KVD balm foundation can sometimes be really finicky about the concealers I put on top of it. So I'll use this Valentino one. This one also is going to be a little bit closer of a shade match. This one is about as good as Luminous Silk at matching my complexion. It's not too bright. I highly suspect my KVD foundation is going to make me look like a total ghost because I had to do the same thing where I bought more according to undertone as opposed to shade match, because the undertones of that one, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, the olive, it's really great for olive skin tones because the undertones are so different. I'm olive and I don't know what shade I would get. I guess for warmer olive people it's really great, but if you're neutral or cool olive like I am on certain parts of my face, I feel like that foundation is just totally whack. I ended up just getting light 004 again. I fully predict it to be too light, but all the other shades just look like they were totally not gonna work for me at all. I don't feel like this face tint blurred my pores at all. I feel like my pores kind of just look the same versus some other primers I have that really can make my pores disappear. The Valentino foundation also isn't necessarily the most blurring foundation I own either, so there's that too. Well, it's not like a face tint. As a primer, I don't dislike it, but I was hoping it would do more tone up than it ended up doing. It kind of actually just made my skin look the exact same, like the pink just completely disappeared aside from when I caught the light. It was still pretty expensive with the discount, so in terms of is it worth it full price, I don't think anything from CHANTECAILLE is worth it full price. You don't buy CHANTECAILLE unless you're self-aware of how you're being a little bit silly, is kind of what I'll say about CHANTECAILLE. Like, you know. I feel like most people who buy CHANTECAILLE know that it's a little bit silly to pay that much, but you do it anyways. Okay, so then the next thing that I got that I'm actually super duper excited about until I saw Morgan Turner's video talking about how it's not full coverage, and this is why I need to watch people's reviews before I buy things, I don't know. But anyways, this dropped on Selfridges, and I do have Selfridges Plus. It is the Tom Ford Soft Matte Concealer. And for those who don't know, I'm constantly on the hunt for a new concealer that is full coverage for my under eye circles because I feel like nothing covers them. And this felt like it checked all the boxes when I was looking at it online. It's a thick circle, and when you roll it down, it's pretty much flush with the tip. So be careful if you were to put the lid back on. You don't want to like smear product on the outside, which when that happens, it always irritates me. So, oh no, this is a good shade match. I'm glad I did. One would have been too dark. This is a really, and it's not like significantly lighter than me either, so because I've noticed if I get concealers that are way too light for me, they don't cover as well as concealers that are a closer match. I'm just gonna tap the edges ever so gently to blend this out. Now this concealer was $60. Just gonna gently blend out. I kind of like try to leave the bulk of the product unblended to set, or else I lose coverage, and I mostly just use the brush to very lightly tap out the edges and smooth the product over ever so slightly. This does blend out very readily. It's definitely blending out a lot easier than my JX one is. That one is definitely a lot thicker. I think if I can figure out the right color correcting combo for my eyes, this will be really good. However, I will say it's giving me a lot more coverage than I expected. After watching Morgan Turner's video, she was making it sound like it was like medium coverage. Scared me for a second, but this actually is giving me a really high coverage. It's not super full, I can still see grooves, and I'm just going to apply it, put product directly on my brush this time and see if I can do that. I'm focusing right in that groove, which is where I always am like the most particular about covering. But yeah, I will say I was expecting full coverage based on the name and the product description, and I feel like you can kind of see on camera that I can still kind of see it. I will continue to play around a little more with this. I think this flat thin brush may not necessarily be the best to build with because it's not really picking up much product. I'm going to use the SUQQU lavender powder because I kind of want to brighten up the center of my face a little bit. I'm really bummed that they didn't ever seem to bring this back because this is just one of my favorite powders of all time. And I even saw from Lexi that they had to discontinue the melting blushes, and not by choice. They discontinued it because they couldn't get materials for it anymore, which, oh my gosh, I had been lusting after that purple one for over a year, ever since, hoping that they would restock it because it literally sold out in what feels like a flash, only for me to hear that they're not even going to be able to bring it back, any of them, so they're being discontinued forever. I could have cried. So I did end up buying 2 shades from Selfridges just so I could have. I do really like using powder to kind of cover up my circles, so I'm gonna take the Urban Decay Stay Naked powder foundation, which I think they're discontinuing too, what the heck, and I'm just going to use this to add some extra coverage. And this is one of the only powder foundations I've tried that didn't dry my eyelids, so I actually bought a backup of this when it was like $10. Yeah, so that added a little bit of extra coverage, but in the mirror I feel like I can see it. I'll keep, of course, this is all like totally new products on top of totally new products, and I obviously need to fiddle around more with these and see how well they play with each other, so there is no judgment being passed today. Everything that I've tried so far I think has really great potential, so I'm just gonna leave that at that. There are so many products I was supposed to speed review last year that I ended up never doing, so I think some of those products you just might never hear about ever again because I don't know if it's too late, but I'm going to definitely try my hardest to speed review this year. I put on some lip balm. My lips are a little bit dry. I'm going to use some D'Alba setting spray. I didn't bring this traveling with me because it's, you know, I don't like having to deal with checking and stuff like this. Okay, so my complexion is looking okay. It's been better, but it could have gone way, way worse for me just fiddling around with new stuff. So I'm not gonna complain. This is honestly looking pretty good all things considered, so I'm gonna move on. I feel like I used to pluck from the top of my eyebrows a little bit too much, so letting them grow back has been really great. But of course I still do always fill in the ends pretty significantly. And then I'm going to use my brow flick. Okay, so that's gonna be my eyebrows complete. Sometimes it's nice to let them just grow out a little bit. So we're going to do a look with a Tom Ford quad. I know, crazy, who am I? I even keep it in the pouch because, I mean, I guess why not? But I got and I'm actually kind of glad that I got my hands on it because it is gone now. But I have been really interested in trying Tom Ford's cream. I don't have any interest in his normal quads, to be honest. I feel like they're kind of a waste. The only one that I truly do regret skipping, because the only reason I skipped it was because it was at the same time as my endometriosis surgery, so it just completely fell off my radar, and I, to this day, regret that I don't have it, and if it were to ever restock, I'd buy it, no questions asked, and that is Metal Lust. I did get this one because I'm really interested in the cream to powder kind of quad formula. I'm not really interested in his normal quads, like literally at all. So let me first put on some eye primer. That would help, wouldn't it? So while I was in Hawaii, my eye primer that I did bring was the NARS Smudge Proof eye primer, which was a very good idea. I am gonna quickly contour my face just because I want to give that just like a minute to settle. So I'm going to use the Kaleido Symphony contour. I really like this. I need to film some kind of video to have for Tuesday, so this is going to be that video, and then I'll catch up on my queue because I pre-filmed twice, but I did not pre-film 3 times, which I was going to, but I'll film a health video later and you'll kind of see why. So don't ask questions about my health right now. I'll talk about it when I feel like it. And my sister really likes it too, so I did tell her, I was like, it's $18, you can go get your own. I love my sister, but I don't love her that much. I mean, she likes to joke that she's gonna be the person getting all the free makeup from a big time influencer, and I'm just like, I hate to be a disappointment. It is true though, whenever I have makeup I don't use anymore, I do let her have first dibs, or if something arrives broken and I get a replacement, I will pass the broken one onto her. She doesn't mind. My expectations are very high. I don't have the applicators in here. They're sitting in my lipstick drawer because they're actually really nice, but I don't use them for like Tom Ford, obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with this Laura Lee Los Angeles brush. I honestly don't really know what kind of look I want to do. I haven't even swatched this because I hate getting my gnarly dirty cat fingers into my makeup, so I pretty much never swatch my makeup. I'm definitely gonna use all 4 shades. It's not gonna be a groundbreaking look. So I'm going to start off with the shade down here, this one. And I know it's like Eye Color Quad Creme, so it's kind of like a creamy to powdery thing, but coming off onto my brush, I am seeing some powdery kick up. So that bodes well because then I feel like, oh, maybe it'll like not dry out super fast, so maybe the shelf life of this will be a little bit longer than a cream shadow can be expected to have. I do fully expect this to be a little lighter on the eye than in pan because cream shadows tend to look, I know Natasha Denona is totally guilty of this, where her shadows, her cream to powder formula always looks darker in pan than on the eye. So that's not gonna surprise me, but that is me applying this shadow in real time, and it blended in real time really quickly to a pretty seamless blend, so we expected nothing less from a $90 quad. I will say immediately on first use, I am totally having way more positive feelings than I do about Natasha Denona's cream to powders. Again, Tom Ford doesn't get brownie points for that. I fully expect that kind of performance because this is at full price, $90. So I am glad to see that this color is living up to expectations. I would be very disappointed if it didn't. And I still even then would say that is going to be your judgment as to whether $90 for an eyeshadow quad is worth it to you. I personally just, I don't know. It's like CHANTECAILLE, you kind of have to be self-aware at that point that it's a little bit of an indulgence, you know? But that was super easy to put on and it looks really nice. Again, comparing to the in pan, it is not quite as dark in pan because of the moisture that is in the eyeshadow. If you have ever used paint, then you know frequently with acrylics they dry lighter than they are wet. So I'm going to go ahead and start using the darker shade, and I'm just going to use the same brush. So this is a really dark shade. It looks almost like a blackened purple or a purple tone black in pan, and I guess we're just doing a smoky eye today because otherwise I don't really know what else I'd use this shade for. I mean, I guess I could use it for eyeliner, but I really want to test the capabilities of this shade. So we're just going to do a very dramatic vertical gradient smoky eye with this quad. Kind of sort of does look like a black and a purple black or a black and purple on my eyelid. This is actually a lot closer to pan than I was expecting, but it's actually really pretty, and I kind of winged it out a little bit. Okay, I like that. Also buildable. I feel like I'm building up a second layer and it's even more intense. Feels really thin on my eyelid. I don't feel like I'm putting down product, and as I blink I don't feel it. So even though it's a cream to powder, it definitely is not going to feel heavy on the eyelid. It's not drying out my eyelid. It's really hiding a lot of my kind of wrinkles because I have wrinkly monolids now, which is a bummer. I definitely wanted to use this before I pulled the trigger on Forbidden Pink and Rose Topaz for obvious reasons. So I'm very glad that this is giving me such a positive impression because, well, okay, I'm glad and I'm not glad because now I feel like I'm gonna buy those and bye-bye money. But it does make me happy to know that if I were to be silly enough to buy those, I probably will not be disappointed. So I am gonna go ahead and blend out the edges by putting on a little bit more of this shade right here. I really do feel like this is a lot more powder than cream. So the closest equivalent for me would be Natasha Denona's. I am definitely having a much easier time using these than I do Natasha Denona's cream to powder, so. But if you do like Natasha Denona's cream to powder formula, I do think you will definitely appreciate the blendability of this one if you know, were looking to treat yourself to something outrageous. Do not buy this just because I like it. I need to start doing speed reviews to really kind of hold myself accountable, actually use my things, you know, more than like 2 or 3 times. And then I'm gonna use this fluffier brush to go back into that really dark shade and just kind of also swirly work that transition. So far I've also not gotten any fallout either, so that's nice. Don't see any dry patch clinging. It definitely does read as pretty matte. Like there's a very slight skin-like sheen, but I feel like if I were to put on too many layers of this, I could maybe dry out my eyelids a bit. Now, of course, note my eyelids are extremely dry, and I definitely need to make sure I actually like do skincare before I film sometimes. Today was just kind of an exception. Yeah, it does have a slight natural skin-like sheen to them, so it's not like dry matte, but it is, for all intents and purposes, matte. So I'm gonna take a very thin brush and use this dark shade on my lower lash line. I don't want to smoke out my lower lash line too much today. I'm just gonna kind of do the Douyin thing today. I just like how it makes my eyes look a little bit bigger. I still haven't quite mastered the angle yet. I feel like every time I do this Douyin lower lash line thing, I try a new angle, and you know, I'll get there someday. Okay, so I am going to use my finger to look at these shimmer ones. They definitely don't seem super intense, which I'm not surprised by. Yeah, so I feel like, I don't know, personally I feel like luxury shimmers are usually pretty boring, but it is a very unique, pretty shade. And I personally, in my experience, I have found that aside from Moon Lily from Terra Moons, shades like this tend to be kind of crumbly and frosty. So I'm glad to see that this is absolutely not giving me that. It's very smooth and pretty, and it doesn't feel ashy or crumbly looking at all. So that's why I ended up going for this over the khaki one. I felt like the khaki one, the shimmers were just, it just felt too homogeneous. I felt like this one was a little bit more unique, and I am glad I got this one now. Yeah, this is definitely not really like gonna be like my favorite metallic formula I've ever used. It is very, 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 very smoothing. So even though I sheared it out and applied it as kind of like a transformative topper, it is super, super smooth looking on my eyelid. No texture emphasis whatsoever, which can definitely be a problem with indie shimmers, especially the thicker, squishier ones. Those can definitely start to show texture. So I definitely would say if you are interested in eyeshadows that like hide any and all texture, any and all little teeny weeny wrinkles, because apparently I'm aging. Definitely I can see the merits of this because I do love how smooth my eyelid looks. So I'm going to now go into this as my inner corner shade. Yeah, this has, it's actually quite powdery. It doesn't feel creamy at all, really. Yeah, I was afraid when I put my brush in that this would be that dry crumbly shade because it kind of had some powderiness in the pan, but it is actually, it's actually quite nice on my eyelid. It melted in pretty quickly. I will say this is a very unusual shade. I thought it would be like that iridescent pink shadow that I don't really care for, but it actually is more of an extremely pastel, very lots of white in it, so super pastel, but it's lavender. The base is lavender, a very milky lavender, and then the reflect is that pinky purple, so purple with a lot of red in it. That's what the reflect is, but the base is super lavender, so really unique. I actually am super digging how interesting this shade is. And again, I'm using this palette for the first time, so I'm not going to make any judgment calls on this yet, but I am very interested. These shimmers, the finish is not really like, you know, intense enough for me to be like, ooh, shiny, like, you know, because I'm a total magpie. But the shades themselves, the actual colors of the bases and the reflex are really nuanced and really unique. I don't actually think I have a shade like these two in my entire collection, and that's saying something. But yeah, this is gonna be the look I created, and I am really impressed. I do really like it. It is quite late at night and I don't want to put on lashes, but my lash lift is pretty much kissing itself goodbye, so I will, you know, maybe it's nice sometimes for you guys to see more realistic looks where I just use mascara even if my eyelashes aren't up to speed. I don't want to use waterproof mascara because I'm gonna have to spend so long taking that off. I'm just going to use mascara and my lashes will drop and it'll be fine. I didn't bring my eyelash serum with me while I was gone, so if my eyelashes seem a little bit shorter, that would be why. Whatever, man. So I'm going to use the Huda Beauty Legit lashes. I'm going to use the curl and length side because that side tends to drop the slowest on me. I know nothing really ends up holding these guys up really well anyways, but I do not want to put on lashes, and I do not want to put on falsies, and I do not want to put on waterproof. I do want to set up a hairdryer by my makeup station so that I can, you know, use a hairdryer to heat my lash curler. See if that helps. I just don't feel like putting on false lashes. Forgive me. Let the eyeshadow speak for itself today. Yeah, whatever, you guys. I don't have lashes today, but it's fine. And I'm just gonna focus the mascara on my outer lashes today for my lower lashes. I am gonna be getting another lash lift this Friday. Okay, so with the lashes just bare minimum, I am going to put on some eyeliner so that I can kind of balance out my eyes and look a little bit less weird without mascara. And at this point, I've drawn my eyeliner enough times to know what angle I need. If you don't know, then, you know, definitely take the time to experiment. I have to use, for black liner, has to be brush tip. And I don't really angle my eyeliner super far up these days unless I'm doing a dedicated eyeliner only look. I angle it out more straight. I have had one person comment that I use my right hand to do my right eye and my left hand to do my left eye. Yes, I do. I've always done my makeup this way. I've never done it any other way. So yeah, so the eyeliner kind of is going to compensate for my lack of lashes. I think honestly it looks pretty cute. Call it that. And then I think I am going to add some fake lower lashes. This video is going to be really long, but I haven't filmed in so long. I haven't talked about makeup in so long, and I do really like to film. I like talking about makeup. Some fake lower lashes will help seal the deal. I'm going to take the Benefit liner for my inner lower corners. Something that I do pretty much with every look these days. It's such a small difference, but I feel like it just really makes a huge difference. I'm gonna finish up the rest of my face now. So, I really want to use this blush here. This is from the Persona Cosmetics and Game. I need to go to bed. This is the Game Beauty and Persona 5 collab. Now, when I first saw this being teased months and months ago, I got really excited. I've actually not played Persona 5 yet. I have the game on both PS4 and Switch, and I never got around to playing it because, and I also just realized I don't play home console, so I got it again on the Switch, and I do really want to play it. But this is the blush single in the shade Noir, and I really love the aesthetic and the design direction of Persona 5. Just love it so much, and I love the music, so definitely I'm going to play it either this year or next year. But I wanted to get this one because purple. However, it looks a lot darker and less pastel in real life than it did on the website. Now, I will say this was very inexpensive. I think it'll be perfect to go with this look, but it also might be a little, I don't know. I feel like this shade of purple blush does not tend to look good on me. I'm still hunting for the perfect lavender blush and I will make a video about it, but I'm gonna try this. I'm using a Spectrum stippling brush. As you can see, super diffuse because I don't want to over apply this shade or I'm gonna be in trouble. So I'm gonna focus this kind of over here. I'm not gonna wrap it up my cheekbone because that's gonna look so bad. Purple blushes definitely do not look good draped most of the time on me. So I'm gonna put it here. I'm not gonna put it on the inside of my face because it's not pastel like I thought it would be. So I'm just gonna put it right in between those zones and I'm going to very carefully build it up because I don't really feel super confident about this shade of purple. It is nice and buildable with the stippling brush. It is blending out really nicely, so that's good. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be my favorite shade of purple. This is with me applying with a really light hand and several light layers with a stippling brush. It's not my purple, pulling some really strange undertones on me. This particular shade of purple just does not work with my olive undertones at all. Well, this was I think under $10, so not a huge loss, and I think if I blend this out with something it will be fine. So I'm gonna use the shade from Peri Para. It's the shade 14 Pastel Lavender. This is not quite it for me either, which I know I sound so picky right now. But this is not quite it. I'm gonna use a denser brush just because this shade is not as pigmented. I don't like this one as much because it's really hard pressed into the pan, but it's one of the closer ones I've gotten for sure. So I'm gonna use this to blend out that shade. And you can see now it looks a lot better. So I could see myself using this blush kind of in conjunction with a pastel one so that I can get the color to show. So like this color being darker purple, it will, you know, actually like show up. And then if I blend it out with a pretty significant amount of my pastel lavenders, then I can kind of get the lavender blush I want. But yeah, this pastel lavender from Peri Para, it's so much harder pressed than the other blushes in the range, so I don't actually like it as much as I thought I would. It is a collab shade, so I wonder if that's why. I'm gonna switch back to the Persona one, and I'm going to just add a little bit more now. Yeah, if I mix the two shades together, okay, so if I mix them together, then I can kind of get the purple blush that I want. So my cheeks are really mattified now though because the Peri Para blush is very mattifying. Spray my face again and I'm going to use highlighter and I'm going to use the BOBBI brown one in Pink Glow. I got it in the limited edition packaging. It was on sale for $20, so I jumped on it. And it also has the really pretty embossing. I actually like am infatuated with this. It's so pretty. And it's not actually super pink at all, which, you know, I don't really like the iridescent pink highlighters, but this one is actually barely pink. Something about those higher end luxury beauty brands, definitely sometimes they do know what they're doing. You can get it to be like this or you can get it to be less shiny and it blends out really well, looks really smoothing. I feel like it's so easy to apply. Like look, I can get it to be so bright, but at the same time it's just so easy to blend out too, or I can just make it barely visible. Something about this highlighter is just so magical. I definitely think I understand sometimes with higher end highlighters there's just something super special about them. It's just so pretty. I love this highlighter so much. So I'm going to use lip liner and I'm just going to use Morphe Backseat Love because all of my other lip liners need to be sharpened and I haven't gotten it. This needs to be sharpened too. Okay, well I guess I'm sharpening lip liners tomorrow. I did think for the longest time that I was gonna get a corner lip lift, but I have heard, and you know how Korean clinics are not really known for being super honest about the afters? Hyundai Clinic, which is the one that I've been looking at, actually posted on their Instagram that if you don't wear makeup often, a corner lip lift is not recommended, which is highly unusual to hear from a Korean surgery clinic because usually they're trying to push all kinds of procedures on you. It turns out scarring is pretty much inevitable around the corners of your mouth. Now I do have natural hyperpigmentation around the corners of my mouth, so I'm used to having the corners of my mouth look a bit funny. But I did read online that some surgeons don't do corner lip lifts on young people at all. They'll only do it on older clients like 50s because of the scarring. Apparently young people scar worse. So that was really a big bummer because I don't know if I want to deal with scarring, so I may still message them and ask them for more details. It would be something I might do like in my 30s because if I do it in my 30s I might be okay, but in the meantime I have for about 2 years now been on and off and I'm trying to be more consistent this year. I had surgery last year, so I pretty much didn't get any last year at all, so it's almost like I'm restarting this year. But I do get Botox in my DAO, aka my frown muscles, and I'm hoping to get it consistently enough this year that I can weaken it to the point that my corners of my mouth won't be so downturned. So we'll see what happens, and maybe if I get a little bit of lip filler on the lower lip, that might also help to kind of give the illusion of a lip that isn't, you know, perpetually RBF, because I hate how it looks. We'll see, we'll see. All of that is totally up in the air. Well, my lips are currently really hydrated, so I think I'm just gonna go with that because I do have another video to film after this. I'm gonna go with this shade. This is, I'm sorry, this is discontinued. It's called Love is Blind. It's from the MAC and Pony collaboration. I had slowly been accruing these shades off of eBay, and they are it's the matte lip mousse, which I think inspired the Powder Kiss formula later. There are still some shades I'm missing, but I have a feeling I will never be able to get those. If you're trying to get your hands on it, I am sorry, good luck. Okay, so I put on an extremely sheer layer, and then I just kind of am using my lips, just pursing them together to quote-unquote overline. Okay, so this is gonna be my finished look. I do actually quite like how everything turned out. Of course, if it had had eyelashes, it would have looked a lot better, but I do really like it. Yeah, this is gonna be a very long rambly video where I just talk about makeup because I like talking about makeup. But in the meantime, I hope you guys really liked this video. I hope you guys liked all the stuff I used. Obviously no final thoughts on the products that I was using for the first time because I was just playing around with them, but I do not dislike anything that I used for the first time in this video, so I'm going to continue to use them. Everything, of course, is always written down in the video description. I don't have links. I did get an email invited to Howl, and I am thinking about setting up a Howl storefront with affiliate links. I don't want to like be that person. I might set that. I'm like kind of working on setting that up because like obviously I really try not to ever say in a video that you need to get something, but if you did want to get something and you also wanted to support my channel, then I was thinking of getting that set up. I'll talk about this more detail in future videos, but I was thinking of setting up either a Patreon or a YouTube membership just for, again, if you wanted to like support me in some way, shape, or form. I've been thinking about that too. But let me know if you guys would like super mind that, like would that make you guys not trust me anymore, or would you think I'm being dishonest if I got those set up? So just let me know what your thoughts are, if you think that's like okay, or if you like don't really want to see that like that. So yeah, I really do like this look. I feel really cute, so I'm gonna go film that Hawaii haul video and then I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.